Hi, friends. In our time together today, I want us to walk through and learn the tune Inisheer. What we'll do is I'll introduce the story behind the tune. You know I love a good story. Then I'll play the tune with no ornamentation, just straight through at a steady pace, and then I'll walk through the phrasings to let you know any issues you might find, and I'll leave the ornamentation up to you. So, when my wife Cindy and I were in Ireland a few months ago, one of the things Cindy really wanted to do that I wasn't sure I wanted to do, but I am so thankful we did, was visit the Aran Islands. And when you're in Doolin, in County Galway, and then the Cliffs of Moher are right there. And then if you head due west, and you've got to get on a boat for this one, you come to a little sequence of islands that are captivating. They're a center for Irish life, language, and culture. None of the islands have that many people on them, but they're phenomenal. Well, the first island is called Inisheer, and Thomas Walsh is an accordion player from Dublin who in the 1970s went on holiday to Inisheer, the first island. And rather than my telling you the story as to why he wrote this tune, how about if I use his words, because it wasn't that long ago. So Thomas Walsh says, I composed Inisheer after spending the best holiday of my life on the island. There was no electricity on the island at that time, which was new to a dub like me. I found the people and the island had something special which I never experienced before. I went for 3 days and came home 3 weeks later due to a lack of money. I composed Inisheer the next day while I was walking in the Phoenix Park, dreaming of what I had left behind and the peace and tranquility it gave me. Like many other tunes, Inisheer has a number of settings to it. And I've read some of the things Thomas Walsh says, and he, like other Irish composers, are honored by the various takes and interpretations and attempts at his beautiful tune. It is frequently played, and the music is transcribed as a bit of a waltz. And so you'll see it written with some 8th and 16th notes following in sequence, and it's a little more bouncy, as though it were the waves lapping on the shore, creating a bit of a dance feel. And that's what I was originally thinking. And then I listened to some of the recordings Thomas Walsh himself did. I'm not causing any grief for anybody who's done it another way, but on his album Ethnic Tears, released in the early mid 2000s, Thomas Walsh first places Inisheer as the opening song, and he plays it through on the accordion. It's played as though he's reflecting on the memory of living in tranquility, where steps just flow from one another and all the hurries washed out of his life. On my part, that's not an overstatement. The song feels that way to me. And then the tune's only 3.5 minutes, so listen to it. Do yourself a favor. 1 minute, 10 seconds in, the second time through, somebody plays the low whistle. I'm not sure who the artist is. Wow, it's gorgeous. It reflects what Thomas Walsh was doing on the accordion as that thoughtful, hurry washed out of my life expression. So what I did is I've transcribed the tune Inisheer in 2 different ways, and I'm going to make both of them available for download. The first one is I transcribed the version Thomas Walsh played on that album, and he plays it the same way in some YouTube videos where I've seen him playing and performing live. And so there are minimal differences. The other thing I did was for the version I'm playing is I went to the session website and I looked at some other websites and I found what I feel like is the closest to Thomas's expression of the tune with a little bit of whistle flourish to it, but not much. And I took that from the session and from some others, and I transcribed that. Both of those are available for download for you. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to walk through just the tune itself, no ornaments as I play it. And then we're going to go through and break down some of the segments. And so let's do that. So this is the play along with Scott section. And I'll stand so that you can see my hands, and I'll play through the tune in its entirety. So it starts off with a walk-in note on the D, and then it goes to the B. And so... So that's the tune. I know I said I'd walk through each phrase, but I believe it's straightforward enough that you can go back to the play along with Scott section and just watch that 2 or 3 times and play along with me, because I believe you probably know this tune. I love the unhurried nature of the way Thomas Walsh plays it. I'm still going to go back to some of that waltzy feel versions as well. I like having multiple versions of a tune. A couple of things to watch out for. As you're going through the first phrase, you repeat that in the second phrase, but to walk into the repeat, remember that's where you're going to come back. The second phrase is, and that's the same as the first phrase, but it then goes. Okay? And then I put in the music a... You could do what you like there. I've seen... Whatever feels more emotive to you. And then on the second ending, it's going to walk up to the second section of the tune where I think it gets a little less thoughtful and a little more heartfelt. So coming out of the second ending, so feel free to just add a little bit more to that. You can sway into that some. whatever you'd like to do there. And the second section of the song has two bits that don't quite repeat. I haven't put them in as a repeat because there are minimal differences in them. And so, yeah, walk through that, enjoy the tune, love it, experiment with it, see what slow air kind of ornaments you want to add to it, and just make this a beautiful experience, a learning experience, but also a way of playing something just so beautiful. In our next video, I'll play through my current take, which honestly is a lot more simple than it was a few weeks ago, now that I've spent more time with Thomas Walsh. Until then, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Happy Lodi whistling.